Okay. Would somebody else would like to lead the reading then? Pranab Prabhu or Anumataji, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we can read, I think.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Vyaktishalakaya Chakshuramitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Vishnupeshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatya Deshitari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
We're doing text
Vasudevaya.
48, right?
Yes. 48 is the next verse.
Techa Brahmana Adeshan
It is Brahmana Adesha
Marisham Upayemite
Marisham Upayemire
Yasya Mahad Avagyanat
Yasyam Mahat Avagnat
Ajanya Ajana Yonija.
Jani Ajana Jani Ja.
Would someone like to read?
You can go on.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Following the order of Lord Brahma, all the Prachetas accepted the girl as their wife. From the womb of this girl, the son of Lord Brahma, named Daksha, took birth. Daksha had to take birth from the womb of Marisha due to his disobeying and disrespecting Lord Mahadev, Shiva. Consequently, he had to give up his body twice. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In this connection, the word Mahad Avagyanat is significant. King Daksha was the son of Lord Brahma. Therefore, in a previous birth, he was a Brahmana. But because of his behaving like a Brahmana, by insulting or disrespecting Lord Mahadev, he had to take birth within the semen of Kshatriya. That is to say, he became the son of the Prachetas. Not only that, but because of his disrespecting Lord Shiva, he had to undergo the tribulation of taking birth from within the womb of a woman. In the Daksha Yajna arena, he was once killed by Lord Shiva's son, Veerabhadra. Because that was not sufficient, he again took birth from the womb of Marisha. At the end of the Daksha Yajna and the disastrous incidents there, Daksha offered his prayer to Lord Shiva. Although he had to give up his body and take birth from the womb of a woman impregnated by the semen of a Kshatriya, he received all opulence by the grace of Lord Shiva. These are the subtle laws of material nature. Unfortunately, people in this modern age do not know how these laws are working. Having no knowledge of the eternity of the spirit soul and its transmigration, the population of the present age is in the greatest ignorance. Because of this, it is said in the Bhagavatam 1.1.10, Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Upadrita. The total population in this age of Kali Yuga is very bad, lazy, unfortunate, and disturbed by material conditions. Hare Krishna. So now, as we see that the Prachetas have accepted Marisha as their wife, and Daksha took his second birth through the womb of a mother. Earlier, as we described in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, the son of Lord Brahma, meaning to say that he did not take birth through the womb of a mother, but by the creative potency of Lord Brahma. But because he had disrespected Lord Mahadev, and after that he had after that when Lord Mahadev had granted him his life back with the face of with the head of that of a goat, he offered his prayers to Lord Mahadev, and consequently, because of the offenses that he had committed, he had to take birth again. And because he had prayed to Lord Mahadev, he also got the opulence that uh, that he had desired. So Lord Shiva showed his mercy as well in this scenario. And as Prabhupada is saying, that these are the subtle laws of material nature. Although Lord Mahadev is a demigod, yet he is the most respectable, as we know that he's the topmost of the Vaishnava. So ultimately, because he had committed an offense to Lord Mahadev, towards Lord Mahadev, he had to suffer the consequences. And as Prabhupada is mentioning, that in this Kali Yuga, we don't know anything about these subtle laws of karma. And that's why we cannot even ascertain what results of our actions or past actions we are getting. We are completely bad, lazy, unfortunate, and disturbed by material conditions. So this is our current condition right now. So we can just imagine how much more sins we have committed, rather than in comparison to what Lord Daksha had done. Hare Krishna. Somebody like to comment something here? Okay, then let's continue. Verse 49. Chakshushe Tvantare Prapte
चक्षुषे स्वान्तरे प्राप्ते
Prag Sarge Kala Vidyute
प्राक् सर्गे कालविद्युते
Yaha Sasarj Praja Ishta
य ससर्ज प्रजा ईस्ता
Sa Daksho Daiva Chodita.
स दक्षो दैव चोदिता.
Someone like to read?
I'll read through.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Swami Prabhupada. Translation. His previous body had been destroyed, but he, the same Daksha, inspired by the Supreme Will, created all the desired living entities in the Chakshusha Manvantara. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 8.17, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vidojanaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Brahma's one day consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. In that one day, there are 14 Manvantaras, and out of these Manvantaras, this Chakshusha Manvantara is the sixth. The various Manus existing in one day of Brahma are as follows: Swayambhuva, Svarochisa, Uttama, Tamasa, Raivata, Chakshusha, Vaivasvata, Savarni, Daksha Savarni, Brahma Savarni, Dharma Savarni, Rudra Savarni, Deva Savarni, and Indra Savarni. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. In a year, there are 40 Manus. Brahma has to live for 100 years. Consequently, the total Manus appearing and disappearing during the life of one Brahma is 504,000. This is the calculation for one universe. There are many innumerable universes. All these Manus come and go simply by the breathing process of Mahavishnu. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Yas Yaika Nishprashita Kalam Atavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagat Andanataha Vishnur Mahan Sahiha Yasyo Kala Vishesho Govindam Adipurusham Samaham Bhajami. In the word Jagat Andanatha means Lord Brahma. There are innumerable Jagat Andanatha Brahmas, and thus we can calculate the many Manus. The present age is under the control of Vaivasvata Manu. Each Manu lives 4,320,000 years, multiplied by 71. The present Manu has already lived for 4,320,000 years, multiplied by 28. All these long lifespans are ultimately ended by the laws of material nature. The controversy of the Daksha Yajna took place in the Swayambhuva Manvantara period. As a result, Daksha was punished by Lord Shiva, but by virtue of his prayers, Lord Shiva, he became eligible to regain his former opulence. According to Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura, Daksha underwent severe penances up to the 5th Manvantara. Thus, at the beginning of the 6th Manvantara, known as the Chakshusha Manvantara, Daksha regained his former opulences by the blessings of Lord Shiva. Hare Krishna. So, to our mind, that's like quite mind-boggling. So each Manu lives 4,320,000 years multiplied by 71. And Daksha, because of the what he did with Lord Shiva in the first Manu period, he was cursed. And that means he lives through 5 Manu periods, and then the 6th Manvantara, Chakshusha Manvantara, he is born again. That's like 4 million into 71 into 6. So many million years. He had to undergo penances before he was born as a Manu again. And with such large time scales, we are like almost like one-cell organisms which just are born and we die immediately. So in this small time frame that we have, how best we can eliminate things which are not connected to the Lord and purify ourselves as soon as possible. That is very, very important. And that is something that we can figure from this time scales that are mentioned here by Prabhupada in terms of the life of one Manu. Would anybody else like to add to that? Go on, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So let's continue. Verse 50-51. Yo jayamanah sarvesham
Jayamanah Sarvesam
tejas vinam vruja
तेजस्विना रुचा
स्वयोपादत्त द्राक्षायच्च
स्वयोपादद्राक्षायं च
कर्मणां दक्षम अब्रुवन्
कर्मणां दक्षम् अब्रमम्
तं प्रजा सर्ग रक्षायां
तं प्रजा सर्ग रक्षाया
अनादिर अभिषीयत
अनादिर अभिषेय च
युयोज युयुजे न्यांश्च
युयोजे न्यांश्च
तवै सर्व प्रजापति.
सवै सर्व प्रजापति.
Somebody like to read?
May I read, Prabhuji?
Sure, Prabhu.
Translation. After being born, Daksha, by the super excellence of his bodily luster, covered all other bodily opulence. Because he was very expert in performing fruitive activity, he was called the name Daksha. Means very expert. The Lord Brahma therefore engaged Daksha in the work of generating living entity and maintaining them. In due course of time, Daksha also engaged other Prajapatis, progenitors, in the process of generating maintenance. Daksha became almost all-powerful as Lord Brahma. Consequently, the Lord Brahma engaged him in general population. Daksha was very influential and opulent. In its own turns, Daksha engaged other Prajapatis headed by Marichis. In this way, population of the universe increased. Thus end Bhaktivedanta purport of 4th canto, 30th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Activities of Prachetas. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Would you like to comment on this? Haribol. Am I audible?
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
So, Santosh Prabhu, would you like to comment something on the verse?
Oh,
He mutes himself.
Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, Daksha, although because he was born by the mercy of Lord Mahadev, he had the same opulence as Lord Brahma, and therefore he was also called Daksha because he was very expert in performing fruitive activity, which is required for being a progenitor. So he was in a way a leader of the progenitors of mankind in the Chakshusha Manvantara. Hare Krishna, would somebody like to add something? Okay, we can continue then. Chapter 31, Narada instructs the Prachetas. Verse 1. Maitreya Uvacha
Maitreya Vacha.
Tata Utpanna Vijnana
Tato Utpanna Vijnana
Jnana.
Ashva Adhokshaja Bhashitam
Ashwa Adokshija Bhashitam
Swaranta Atmaje Bharyam
Naranta Atmaje
Parantat.
Bharyam
Visrijya Pravrajan Vihat.
Visrijya Pravrajan Grahat.
Pravrajan.
Would somebody like to read?
I'll read, Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhu. Right.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The great sage Saint Maitreya continued. After that, the Prachetas lived at home for thousands of years and developed perfect knowledge and spiritual consciousness. At last, they remembered the blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and left home, putting a wife in charge of a perfect son. Perfect. After the Prachetas had finished their penances, they were blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord blessed them by telling them that after finishing their family life, they would return home back to Godhead in due course of time. After finishing their family life, which lasted thousands of years, according to a calculation of the demigods, the Prachetas decided to leave home, putting their wife in charge of a son named Daksha. Thus, this is the process of Vedic civilization. In the beginning of life, as a brahmachari, one has to undergo severe penances and austerities in order to be educated in spiritual values. The brahmachari or student is never allowed to mingle with women, learn from the beginning of life about sex enjoyment. The basic flaw in modern civilization is boys and girls are given freedom during school and college to enjoy sex life. Most of the children are Varna Sankara, meaning born of undesirable fathers and mothers. Consequently, the whole world is in chaos. Actually, human civilization should be based on Vedic principles. This means that in the beginning of life, boys and girls should undergo penances and austerities. When they are grown, they should get married, live for some time at home, and beget children. When the children are grown up, the man should leave home and search for Krishna consciousness. In this way, one can make one's life perfect by going home to the kingdom of God. Unless one practices penances and austerities in the student life, he cannot understand the existence of God. Without realizing Krishna, one cannot make this life perfect. The conclusion is that when the children are grown, the wife should be put in the children's charge. Husband may then leave home to develop Krishna consciousness. Everything depends on the development of mature knowledge. King Pachina Bharisat, the father of the Prachetas, left home before the arrival of his sons, who were engaged in austerity within water. As soon as the time is ripe, or as soon as one has developed perfect Krishna consciousness, he should leave home, even though all his duties may not be fulfilled. Prachina Bharishat was waiting for the arrival of his sons, but following the instructions of Narada, as soon as his intelligence was properly developed, he simply left instructions for his ministers to impart to his sons. Thus, without waiting for their arrival, he left home. Giving up a comfortable home is absolutely necessary for human beings and is advised by Prahlad Maharaj. Hitvatma patam patam griham andakuppam. To finish the materialistic way of life, one should live a so-called comfortable home life, which is simply a means for killing the soul. Atma patam. The home is considered to be a dark well covered by grass, and if one falls within the well, he simply dies without anyone caring. One should therefore not be too much attached to family life, for it will spoil one's development in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Sadly, hard-hitting purport by Prabhupada, and he says that as a brahmachari, young boys and girls should learn the scriptures separate from each other. And when one is young, it's easy to absorb these learnings quickly. And that is the time when one has to learn the Vedic scriptures rather than materialistic lessons. And as you get older, it becomes more and more difficult to absorb these lessons. And as one becomes more contaminated or polluted, it becomes more and more difficult to understand the lessons of the Vedas or the scriptures. Unless one practices penances and austerities in a student life, he cannot understand the existence of God. So, as written in the Vedas, if one follows as given in the scriptures, when one is young, then he realizes that we are not this body, we are the Atma, and our existence with the Paramatma are the Lord and the existence of the Lord. Without realizing Krishna, one cannot make this life perfect. And better done when one is young rather than one is old. When one is old, one has gone through this material life, and at the time when you feel like, yes, now maybe it's a time to like start realizing who we are, what this life is, many other things happen to us. I mean, either we are burdened by too much of materialistic burdens, family, house, job, or we find it difficult to do Krishna conscious practice. Either we are like not well, or so these are impediments in the practice. And when one is young and healthy, if one gets onto this path, it's the best. And then it's very easy to purify oneself on this path, following the footsteps of the spiritual master. It's far more difficult when one takes to this path at a later stage in life. Further, Prabhupada said that boys and girls should not mix. And if they mix very early in life, they get polluted. And this pollution further puts the time away when one can take to Krishna consciousness. So another 20 years go by. So 15 to 20 years go by in school and college. Then one is attracted, and then one the early age of married life, another 20 years go by. So then by the time you're 40, 45, then you think, okay, now what? I am like little fed up. Let me take to spiritual life. But then it's a little too late because one is already conditioned in this material life. But this is not the case with King Prachina Bharisat, the father of the Prachetas. He left home before the arrival of his sons, who were engaged in austerity within the water. So as soon as the time was ripe, Prachina Bharisat was waiting for the arrival of his sons. But following the instructions of Narada, as soon as his intelligence was properly developed, he left, giving instructions to his ministers. This is the perfection in spiritual life, where one, due to penances, realizes that yes, one is cleansed now and is situated in perfect consciousness, then not really caring for the material things, son, kingdom, family. He is able to go and perfect his life in Krishna consciousness. So giving up a comfortable home is absolutely necessary for human beings, and this is advised by Prahlad Maharaj. So to finish the materialistic way, one should leave the comfortable home life. Otherwise, one is just conditioned and identifies more and more with the material things rather than being able to focus on the Lord and spiritual life. So finally, Prabhupada said the home is considered to be a dark well covered by grass. And if one falls, he simply dies without anyone caring. One should not be attached to family life or it will spoil one's development in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Somebody else like to add to that, please?
Hare Krishna, just one comment, what we were just reading in the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna is explaining the same topic in the end of the 17th chapter, and then of course continues in 18th chapter. But it was very nice, this verse of 28, the last verse of 17th chapter, that but sacrifices, austerities, and charities performed without faith in the Supreme are non-permanent. O son of Pritha, regardless of whether rites are performed, they are called asat and are useless both in this life and in the next. So just that this came to my mind also, that how important is that we do whatever we are doing, and also our austerities are for Krishna. Otherwise, all these activities are useless if we don't connect them with Krishna.
Sure, Machaji. I think further into Prabhupada says that such activities are abominable. So one has to surrender and dedicate all our actions without any attachment to Krishna. Pranab Prabhu, you'd like to take over?
Yes, Ravi. Thank you very much, Ravi, for your comments. Yes, so let's continue. Verse 2. Let's take last verse for the day. Dikshita Brahma Satrena
Brahmasatreena
Sarva Bhutatma Medasa
सर्वभूतात्मा
sarvabhutamasa
Praticham Dishi Velayam
प्रतीच्यां दिशि वेलायां
vedayam
Siddho Abhul Yatra Jajali.
सिद्धो
sit
जाज
yatra jali.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, welcome back.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
May I read?
Yes, please.
The Prachetas went to the seashore in the west where the great liberated sage Jajali was residing. After perfecting the spiritual knowledge by which one becomes equal toward all living entities, the Prachetas became perfect in Krishna consciousness. The word purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Brahma Satra means cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Actually, both the Vedas and severe austerity are known as Brahma. Vedas Tattvam Tapo Brahma. Brahma also means the absolute truth. One has to cultivate knowledge of the absolute truth by pursuing studies in the Vedas and undergoing severe austerity and penances. The Prachetas properly executed this function and consequently became equal to all other living entities. As Bhagavad Gita 18.54 confirms, Brahma Bhutah Prasannatma na shochati na kanchati samaha sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service and communion. When one actually becomes spiritually advanced, he does not see the difference between one living entity and another. This platform is attained by determination. When perfect knowledge is expanded, one ceases to see the outward covering of the living entity. He sees rather the spirit soul within the body. Thus, he does not make distinctions between a human being and an animal, a learned Brahmana and a Chandal. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Tuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Panditaha Samadarshana. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, outcast. Bhagavad Gita 5.18. A learned person sees everyone equally on a spiritual basis, and a learned person, a devotee, wants to see everyone develop in Krishna consciousness. The place where the Prachetas were residing was perfect for executing spiritual activities, for it is indicated that the great sage Jajali attained mukti, liberation there. One desiring perfection or liberation should associate with a person who is already liberated. This is called sadhu sangha, associating with a perfect devotee. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, a very nice discussion actually. So the previous verse we had also seen about Srila Prabhupada talking about the process of brahmacharya. So this verse continues in that. So you see, when we are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to, see it in the entirety. Srimad Bhagavatam verses, when we are studying them on their own, they're very nice, they're very sweet, like Prabhupada said, they're very sweet, each verse. But when we study them together, they are very meaningful. So now we are talking about the instructions that the Prachetas received from Narad. So Prachetas, we saw in the last chapter that they got married to the daughter of the forest. What was her name? Marisha. They married Marisha, and then they came to live then they came home to live. They lived for thousands of years, and they perfected their life. So you see, the objective of human life, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, to know Brahma, to understand one's constitutional position, Jivera Swarup Hoye Krishnera Nityadas, to know that's the real purpose of life. So if you really want to travel from Bombay to Pune, you will take anything that you can afford, that you can find. It could be a scooter, it could be a motorcycle, it could be a bus, it could be a car, it could be a train, or it could be a plane. The objective is to reach. The medium of transportation is not the objective. So likewise, to perfect our journey back to Godhead, one may take the path of brahmacharya, one may take grahastha ashram, one may take sannyas. But the objective is always to realize Krishna, Hari Toshanam, to satisfy the Lord in whichever position we are. The brahmacharis sacrifice their comforts for the sake of the satisfaction of Guru and Krishna. The grahasthas sacrifice their material for satisfaction of Krishna. The sannyasis sacrifice life itself. So in this way, everyone sacrifices his comforts, his position for the pleasure of the Lord. That's the objective. But one cannot do this unless one is trained. Who is the objective? How to attain him? What is the process? That one has to learn from a bona fide guru. So the process is brahmacharya first. So unless the boys and girls have properly trained, how will they execute devotional service? They will continuously struggle. What we call today as grahastha ashram is nothing but just grahamedhi ashram, grahamedhi sthan, not even ashram. So one has to realize Krishna, one has to practice Krishna consciousness very strictly. One has to always keep the objective in mind, and that way one will be able to focus. So Prachetas went to a place where Jajali had practiced his tapasya, austerities, and he became liberated. So first thing is sthana. Sthana is important, where we execute our devotional service. So very interesting conversation in this regard. The Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a very simple rule. Those who are very advanced, they could stay in Mayapur, Gaudiya Math. Those who were bit addicted to activities, bit passionate, they were sent to the Bombay Gaudiya Math. Those who could not tolerate the heat of Mayapur in summers, they would be sent to the Darjeeling Gaudiya Math. In this way, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ensured that everyone stayed within the shelter of the math. So one has to find a place where one can execute one's devotional service. It could be brahmacharya ashram, it could be sannyas, or it could be grahastha ashram. But in any condition, the position should be suitable. So by perfecting their spiritual knowledge, they became equal to all living entities. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu and panditaha samdarshina. So they acquired perfect knowledge. Perfect knowledge can only come when we are associating with perfect sadhus. There is no question of sentiment here. There's no question that, I like this Prabhuji, I must stay with him. No, you must find the most advanced devotee. So there is no offense in being selfish in bhakti. In bhakti, you must take shelter of the sadhu who is most advanced. One should never waste any time at all. So the Prachetas, they went to the place of Jajali's ashram and then they executed their austerities. So in this way, you see, they perfected their lives. Of course, now we're going to see that they're going to meet Narad Muni. So of course, that's Narad Muni's mercy. And we see like now in the fourth canto itself, I think this is the third or fourth personality Narad Muni is going to deliver. We have seen Narad Muni delivering, who's that? Dhruv. We will see Narad Muni delivering Chitraketu. We'll see Narad Muni. Of course, he came with Angira Rishi there, but he'll keep on delivering all the personalities here. So that's the role of a sadhu. Janma sarthaka kari kar paropkar. One must deliver himself first and then deliver others. So the point is, one must receive proper training. One must have proper consciousness. So unless one's own desire and one's own consciousness is not proper, one will not derive much benefit by meeting a sadhu. Simple as that. If our desire is to be purified and we are impure, it's perfectly fine. As soon as we meet the sadhu, sadhu's fire will burn us. It will purify us. But if we don't have any desire to purify ourselves, and we keep meeting the sadhu because it's nice, because it's a good social custom, because it's pious, then nothing will happen. That's why we see so many devotees don't advance in bhakti, because they have no desire to be purified. They like to be with sadhus, they like to hear sadhus, but they have no desire to attain Krishna, no desire to be purified. So therefore, years and years pass by and they don't progress. Because at the end of the day, there is always this concern. Oh, I have my house, my wife, my children, I have to take care. Sadhu will say nice things, thanks, but I have my own life. As much as this consciousness remains, one will never progress in bhakti. Srila Prabhupada was 22 years old when he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him to preach in the West, in English. And Srila Prabhupada was immediately thinking, oh, I wish I was not married. Then I could have taken sannyas immediately. But now I am married, so it seems like a injustice to leave my wife alone. So that is the consciousness of a grahastha. Immediately he said, but then I was sitting and making plans. How will I go to the West? How will I preach? So he was thinking, maybe my wife might assist me, or maybe something will happen. And in the end, Krishna made it possible. You see, when we have the desire, then Krishna can do something for us. If we don't have the desire, we are blocking out Krishna. Then we may hear Bhagavatam, we may hear from Narad Muni himself, but nothing would happen. So you see, we have to be very, very particular. Bhakti means consciousness. Consciousness means constant awareness. So no, you don't have to tell anyone. You don't have to write in the forum, or you don't have to write an email or anything. Think for yourself. You don't have to tell me or tell anyone. You tell yourself, what is your real consciousness? What is your real desire? So you may be a householder, you may have children, wife, whatever. It's all right. But what is your true desire? Then Krishna will make it possible. If your true desire is to remain a grahastha, to enjoy the company of wife and children, well, Krishna will fulfill that because you are a devotee. But if your desire is to do something for Krishna, then Krishna has something in mind for you. So please remember, ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. Krishna is saying that. Mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. So if you are following Krishna's path right now, you'll be able to follow a better path if you desire to serve Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Yes. Any questions or comments? Okay, then we stop here today. We'll continue tomorrow with text 3. Sorry, there was some devotee seva, so I had to go up. Hare Krishna. Srila